Black Boy, aka Tyler Mono Black Mage, going in to do a deck overview on Mono Black Barrowgoyf Pox I got from Day666. Made some very minor modifications. I took it to a 5-0 finish the other day in a Legacy League. And I'm going to break down those matchups. 2-0 against Storm, 2-1 against Blue and Black Tempo, 2-1 against Sneaker Show, 2-1 against Blue and Black Sunblade, and 2-1 against Blue and Black Tempo again. So, just straight tier decks in the league. No weird decks in that run, 5-0 run, which gives value to this deck, in my opinion. So, the reason why I think this composition is more reliable than slasher compositions is because it has a higher variance of individually powerful cards, whereas the other deck might be more reliable on having a certain combination of cards available to get the deck running. I just like to have a deck list that doesn't rely on the namesake card Smallpox to operate, because you're not going to always have Smallpox plus your payoffs. So it's going to have cards that can help carry the deck, like Barrowgoyf and Urza Saga. This is not to shame the slasher composition. I just think this deck list is more reliable, at least for me. So we're going to break down the deck. We got 26 lands, pretty standard. This is more than the average Legacy deck. And the reason for that is because Smallpox taxes your own mana base. You want to be able to play out of your own Smallpox through the natural draw. And Urza Saga blows up itself too. So having a good amount of land to cast your spells is an important thing to do. The 4 hatchery, 4 fetch lands, and the surveil. The 4 fetch lands and surveil help the consistency of the deck, filtering out bad draws they may not want in the mid to late game, sometimes even early game. And we got the Ghost Quarter. Reason for that is because I don't believe 4 Smallpox alone is enough for a Eumidian hatchery outlet. 2 copies of Urborg helps caster double black spells like 4 Smallpox, 2 Hymn to Torax. 3 Urza Saga, because we have 4 targets, and the card is really powerful. It's a +2 in virtual card advantage that replaces itself with a tutor artifact. We're going to go over those 2 artifacts. Currency Converter has high synergy with Smallpox and is good for filtering out bad draws when you need to. Spellbomb is graveyard interaction that replaces itself and has great synergy with Barrowgoyf. Pivot Needle to shut off specific permanents. Skateboard, the new card for your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It goes great with the 3 copies of Urza Sagas and 3 copies of Barrowgoyf. Especially with Barrowgoyf, you can tap a blocker and connect an attack. And if you net a card, you're going to bury your opponent in cards while dealing severe amounts of damage. 4 rituals, because they go well with her 6/3 mana spells. Now, the reason why I decided to play a tech Blood Cheese first over the 4 copies of Fatal Push is because I wanted 4 outs, the Tameo in the main deck. And the 4 outs are Epiphany Needle, Blood Cheese first, and 2 Shieldred's Edict. It just helps Tameo from becoming a problem. 3 Fatal Push, target removal, and that with multiple ways to revolt it. And I forgot to talk about Wasteland. That's just more land destruction to support the 4 copies of Smallpox, as well as the singleton Ghost Quarter. And then 4 Fotzies to him, your discard. 4 Orcish Bowmasters. Draw interaction for the opponent, and it's an individually good card that can remove 1 toughness creatures off the board while advancing your own game plan, and it gives you sacrifice fodder to Smallpox, namesake card of the deck. 2 Shield Dreads Edict, my favorite, and in my opinion, the best creature in Planeswalker removal. Hindusrak. Now this card has been going downwards as of lately, but it just goes really well with Barrowgoyf. You sequence turn to him on an empty board, sequence it into Barrowgoyf. While the opponent is set back, you're accumulating extra cards and filling your grave for it. I think that's really good for it. I think that's a really good turn sequence. On occasions it pops up. 4 copies of Smallpox, because we are built off that with the 1 currency converter for Humidity Hatchery. So we got 5 cards that synergize with Smallpox. The currency converter gets tutored off the Urza Sagas so we can see it. So it's kind of like having 8 cards, 8 high impact cards that are good with Smallpox, because Urza Saga is like a pseudo currency converter in which we can tutor for it if we don't naturally draw it. So having that amount of cards that are synergized with Smallpox is pretty cool. 3 copies Barrowgoyf. High impact card, individually really powerful, and it's well positioned in the current format. And it goes really well with the skateboard. 3 Liliana Veil, because I want the deck to be more controlling, and it's a creature, it's a card type for Barrowgoyf. Plus it also encourages the discard of white-based removal when there's not an active threat in play, which does help Barrowgoyf run with the game. So I think that's about it for the main deck. I think it's pretty much card for card, the same way as Nate 666 decklist from the Pox Discord admin, except for 1 Blood Sheet is first over to the 4th Fatal Push, as I mentioned. And we got the sideboard. 2 Opposition Agent, anti-tutoring that goes well with the 4 Dark Ritual. 2 Plague Engineer, help against Orcish Bowmasters and cats, mostly. 3 Leyline of the Void. It's just nice to have an opener, especially if it's a Storm deck or Oops All Spells deck. Now the reason why I cut one of the ley lines for one of Ghost Vacuum is because a lot of the time Leyline and Void gets removed or bounce, or it gets clunky if we keep drawing them. So it's nice to have a 1 mana card that interacts with the graveyard. And plus having that Ghost Vacuum gives me another piece of interaction for the graveyard against the fair decks, like Murktide Regents and Euro. We don't want to sideboard Leyline and Void against those kind of decks, because if you don't open with it, it's going to end up being a really bad draw when you need to be casting spells. 4 mana is not friendly for this kind of card. So having something that you reliably draw into or tutor for is much nicer. It doubles up with the Spellbound really well. And then finally we got 2 Dampings here, 2 Disruptor Flute, 2 Null Rod. I think this is the best split. The 2 Dampings here helps against the big mana decks. The 2 Disruptor Flute is just a good generic extra needle effect or anti-combo card. Like, you can just name it Show and Tell and tax it, which is really supportive of the theme of the deck, with the 4 Smallpox and 4 Wasteland to support the mana denial and tax their spells. It shuts off Tamiyo 2. And then 2 copies of Olron. Now, this is the only card that is pushing the price of the deck, because it is on the reserve list, and it's a sideboard stable reserve list card. No Rod is just really good at shut off combo decks that rely heavily on artifacts like Storm and Mystic Forge. If you somehow don't have access to these, you can cut the two. If you want to cut in, if you need a budget a little more, you can make it 3 disrupt your flute and 2 damages here, while not while it doesn't provide the exact same role. It does help contest against similar matchups in some way, but I prefer just having go 2, 2, and 2. I think that's just more reliable in the long run. So this is Barrowgoyf Pox. 2-3, 5-0, and 3-2 are all my results so far. Yeah, pretty traditional Pox list. It just happens to be well positioned right now, in my opinion. Not everyone has the budget for a black or green lone Pox deck, so it's nice to be able to play Pox without breaking the bank. And this is a composition that I can say I think it is pretty well positioned right now, and is kind of might be sustainable in the long run. I hope it is. We'll just have to see, because the legacy format changes a lot. But for now, I'm kind of confident with it based on what I experienced. I hope you enjoyed. I think I will do a 5-video replay series of the 5-0 run, so you can see how I got the 5-0 finish. Obviously, there's going to be a lot involved. That's just part of 5-0 finishes. But I hope it gives some idea of how the deck is played. Anyways, I'm signing out.